So there's a man, and he's been hired to paint a white line in the middle of the road. And so the first day, he paints for 2 miles this beautiful white line. The second day, he only does 1 mile. And the third day, he only goes 1/2 mile. So his foreman came up to him and said, you know, you're doing a great job, but help me understand, the first day we were so ecstatic because you did 2 miles. But the second day you did less, and the third day you did less. What's going on? And the guy said, well, I just kept getting further and further away from my paint bucket. If you nodded off, it's online. All right? Because that's funny, no matter what you do about that. That's what I'm saying. Like, anyhow, we come here together in this sacred ceremony because sometimes we get too far away from our paint bucket. We're off in something of some kind of story or some kind of new narrative about the world and the people, and you know, those people over there. We don't necessarily describe those people, but we say those people and them, you know, all of those. And so we come together in the collectively, the collective energy to renew our paint bucket, our skill sets, our tools, because here in New Thought, we're not guided by rules, because rules are written for that very small group of people that did something that more than likely they did not need to do. Whereas in New Thought, we are people that we don't need rules because we're nonconformist. And so we need tools. I mean, the word rule by itself makes us all, see, half of you have already stopped breathing and I haven't even finished my sentence. So we use these tools to bring us to a place of awareness that deepens us. And thus we've been doing this 7-week program, The Art of Abundance, because there's some tools in there. And we've all been able to shake things up a little bit, you know, of what we believe about abundance, of what we believe about prosperity. It's very individual. Don't rain on anybody else if their definition happens to be different from yours. Or judge somebody else if their definition is different than yours. One of the biggest, I think, ailments today about people being abundant is the judgment that people place on other people of what they think it should or it should not be. Do you agree with that? Does that resonate with you? So it's like everybody, there's more than enough for everyone. Say that with me. There's more than enough for everyone, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. There's a quote in the Spirit Expressing workbook and in the book that is something like this, that continue to expand your vision. Continue to expand your vision. You will not get caught for trespassing if you break your own limited boundaries. I love that. You want me to do that again? Something like that. You won't get caught for trespassing if you break your own self-imposed boundaries, you see. And of course, you know my statement. If your mother thought enough of you to stretch so you would be born, you owe it to yourself to stretch so the new you can be born. And so we do things when we get together to look at getting more paint on our paintbrush, so we will shock ourselves out of a memorized life. Some people for 20 years drive the same way to work with the same people, get their coffee at exactly the same time, and their donut espresso, and their super duper, and blah, 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 and they go home the same way, and they do kind of, and then it's 7 o'clock, so it's time for the sunset, and then it's time for the, I don't know, CSI or something I'm just downloading, I don't know, but something. The best life is the life unplanned. The best life is the life of surprise. The best life is when we bring great healers and orators and teachers like Deirdre here. I sat here yesterday, made notes all afternoon. Being a student, to me, is the greatest value I can bring this planet. Same for you. Same for you. We live in a time where we have a lot of know-it-alls, but no show-it-alls. right? So that's just kind of my field around that. When I was first in ministry, I wanted to offset my income, and I still do that. And as ministers, anyway, that's another talk for another Sunday. I won't grab you on that one today, okay? But anyway, to offset some of my income, I sold high-end real estate on Palm Beach Island, and some of you may even know Hypoluxo Island, Manalapan. And back then, we didn't have Zillow and all the things you can do on the computer, pretty much drive to the house without ever going there. Back then, you were going by a brochure. And in the brochure, I would take my client because it was water view property. We were all so excited. We found it at the right price. And we get to the place, and I'd call the broker and go, "Where's the water?" If you go up on the 3rd floor, and in the bathroom, there's a step ladder there, and if you step on the step ladder and you peek over, you lean over and get them all to lean with you. Don't be in their way, and you'll see water there. Thank you for sharing. It seemed like false advertising to me. And that's part of what this program has been about. Yeah, it's been about digging deep. Yes, it's been about more relative to you. Because unless we are expressing this surprise life of opportunity, infinity, knowing who we stand for and knowing where we came from, as I talked about last week, we are falsely advertising what is possible for life. We need to stop false advertising to our youth and to our children in this memorized life of, that's just the way it is. No, it's not. It's the way it is because you made it. It is the way it is, right? And until we decide we don't want to make it the way it is anymore, then it will not be that. It will not be that. In the book, it talks about there are 3 types of people. One would be the path maker. And they're the leaders of today's times. They make the path. They're the person that is sitting here right now and knows if they have a shift in their mind, it will affect Australia. The person sitting in the back of the room that knows if they have a shift in their consciousness, it will affect Africa. That's the kind of big I'm talking about today. I didn't talk about stretching so I could just, this is more than just praying that the car will crank 365 days a year or that, blah, 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 blah. This is about the big mindful stuff. This is about the deepening of what we really know, to be those path makers, the leaders that your soul literally made an agreement already to be here for now. Right? And so there are the path makers. And then there's other people that watch those people and kind of watch what they're doing, sometimes take their inventory or whatever, but they are the path takers. And then there's another group of people that they kind of wake up and then they go, how did this happen? And then they kind of wake up deeper and then they kind of nod back off again, going back into just an automatic space. Okay, this is partly the book with some me flair, okay? So those of you looking at me like you're gonna meet me in the lobby, it's okay. This is the material in the book, all right? But the path maker is the greatest experience that you can ever have in your life. This is, however, what most people question. Are you on the right path or are you on the wrong path? How many of you don't even have to nod out loud because I already know it. How many of you question, am I on the right path? Am I on the wrong path? Am I on the path? What happened to my path? How many of you have ever been there? I know, you just can't wait to go, Yeah. When you do that, when you are in that practice, you dissipate from a lower vibration energy who you are. When you do that, you put yourself back into a past style of who you are instead of a forward movement of what you are about. Wherever you are, you're right where you're supposed to be, exactly at the time you're supposed to be it. You are right on task with your life. You are where you're supposed to be. This is your path, and you are on your path, and there is no paint bucket that you're going to run out of paint. Okay? And what will happen with you and to you as you believe that? I am on my path. Well, let's practice. I am on my path right now. Doing and expressing as I'm supposed to. If in that vibratory energy of yourself, there's something you're supposed to let go of. Everybody had something come up in your mind right now. If there's something that you're supposed to let go of, you will organically and you will naturally. Because you cannot continue to show up in a high vibration on your path and do some of those lower vibration things of wrong language, addiction, settling for less. No matter what you do, you may have it, but you won't keep it because it doesn't belong to you because it's not you. I think it's very interesting when we think of all the quotes, and like you, I had quotes as a teenager all over my room. I'm a quote queen, okay? Love those quotes. But there's one quote that universally, regardless of somebody even being involved in spiritual or watching Super Soul Sunday or anything, the quote that they can always paraphrase is the one by Marianne Williamson. It is not the darkness that is our deepest fear. Our deepest fear isn't that. It's the who we are beyond measure. It's the light of who we are to be. That is what often has frightened us and scared us the most. I can speak about this because I used to do this. I would confuse career with path. How I made a living with path. Path is the space that you walk as a spiritually blessed human being in that place of loving your humanity. And part of my shamanic training many years ago would be that every other weekend I would go to the underworld. Now, people practice prayer here, they practice meditation. We teach people that you have one of the 12 powers called imagination in unity. But often that's approached more in a way of an intellectual process. There's a world going on inside of you and underneath you that is about all these archetypes and things on the imagination that if you dig deep into those and you go deeper than meditation, you ask for the symbology, you ask for the archetypes, and you come back and return to current space and you write, why was that gifted to me? Why does that matter to me? And so I was going in this underworld, and normally I would see certain things. The tree, the dirt, the underworld, the da-da-da-da-da. And this particular day, it was altogether different. I was swooped up. There were crystal lights. There was light. It was so bright. It's like, wow. And I was like, whoa, this is different. And I was just kind of spacing around. And no, I don't use ayahuasca. So it's just all natural. So anyway, so I'm up, I'm like, whoa, what is this? Whew. And there came Jesus, and it was like he pulled up on a parade float. I don't think he'll mind me saying that, but it was like a parade float. I mean, like here he came out of the light, like, and there he was with animals and children, and he looked right at me, and he said, do the work, the path is straight. Do the work, the path is straight. Well, I mean, that's big, like paramount kind of stuff, That's like, whoa, do the work, the path is straight. But you know that I still question my path then. Of course, in my humanity, I did, until those things could no longer serve, into accepting that this is the path. You understand that? It's true for each and every one of us. You will continue to find you. The issue is that when you question yourself, you lose you. You will continue to seek you, but when you question your reality, then you dismiss you, right? And so that is what the material is talking about, that there are people that are caught up in the fear of mistakes. And if you are participating in life And if you are a multidimensional person, and if you have creative energies, most people here are healers, activists, seekers, and artists. It's not, they have a flair in one, they're gifted beyond measure. That's what New Thought people are. Can pretty much do just about anything. But if you are held back by a fear of mistake, it means that you're literally not even letting yourself half the time go out of the house. Because when you are being actualized on all four of those things on your path, you do make mistakes. The difference is you are not a mistake. Right? And if you have anybody in your life that continues to remind you that you are a mistake, you stand up to them and say, "You're right. I made one mistake, and that would be you. Bless you." Right? It's essential. I'm not being crude, I'm being real. You invest a lot of time in yourself. You invest a lot of time in your awareness, in your being awake, and your being creative. And there are some people you need to bless on the going part of their path. And if you aren't doing your path because you're concerned about their path, you're doing them a tremendous disservice. And so you bless them to find other people that they would find great joy in coaching. Right? But when you're on the path and you're not going to run out of paint, you don't need coaching. You need to coach yourself. Right? Coach yourself. So it's that space, right? The other thing is the fear of rejection. What is that made up? Reality, fear of rejection. No one can ever reject you unless you reject yourself. Yes. There's no such thing. It's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. It's a law. And if it isn't one, it ought to be, and let's say it is. And it's always working. Unless you reject yourself, you will never perceive or believe that anybody else is rejecting you. It just doesn't happen. If they do reject you because you don't live in that fear of rejection, you wouldn't notice it anyway. You're just going about your business, you see. In Psalms 23:5, it says very clearly, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. What does it say? My cup runneth over. It doesn't say my cup's depleted. And a lot of people blame the fact that somebody didn't like them, somebody didn't love them, somebody divorced them, somebody left them, somebody disappointed them, as the reason that they're not abundant. And we're taught very clearly, you can have any kind of offsets in your life, and you can still have this table before you and a full cup, right? Full cup, not full cup. It's truth. It's truth. Some of my most abundant times in my life have been at the same time, the most birthing times, right? There's like a cleansing that occurs. It's like an energy flow that blesses you. And the final one is fear of failure. Fear of failure. You can interview any of your own that you desire, that you think about, that you think are wow, that you desire their teaching, and you ask them, how many times did they fail? How many times? And they have a list this long. It's not in the failing, it's in the getting up. It's not in the failing, it's in the moving up. Because the failing, then it nikes you to stand taller when you do get up, right? And to have more of that dream building energy. That's just the way that it works. So a man has a refrigerator and it's not working, and so he calls a repair person. And the woman comes in and he explains to her what it's not doing. And so she walks over, looks at the refrigerator, walks over to the side of it, and she kicks it real good. Well, it starts running again. And he was kind of like looking at her, and he went, well, thank you. And how much is that going to cost me? And she said, $75. He said, $75? You know, what did you do? Put on the invoice what you did. She put $5, kick the refrigerator, $70 knowing where to kick. So we've kicked each other today. Let's make it matter, and let's do something with it. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you. Thanks. Oh, thank you.